Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Come on in. I hope everybody's having a great day. Welcome to Money in the Morning. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. This is our millionaire training camp where we cover the art of economic elevation. We do this every single morning, 7 days a week. We don't stop. We don't take weekends. Weekends, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't want to be mean or rude when I say this, but you know what? When you grow up in a world of champions, weekends are for suckers. I'm kidding. You enjoy your weekend. Don't be weird like me. But really though, and you don't understand. See, I'm also super inspired because I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, which is the home of the great Muhammad Ali. So I grew up kind of seeing that as the standard of greatness. I mean, I just watched a big long documentary by Ken Burns about Ali and his life and every great thing that he did. And I'm gonna tell you, man, it's so inspiring. I love watching his life and he knew a lot of people. He lived in a lot of the places I've lived in my life, and he knew a lot of the people who I knew or were connected. He spent a lot of time with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad right there in Chicago and in the South Side. I lived in the South Side, around the corner from that house where Farrakhan. I remember Minister Farrakhan taking me around the house and showing me and telling me about the story of how in the 1970s, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave him the house and it's interesting, and he spent all this time in the South Side of Chicago and Louisville and went out and just did these awesome things and just had these ideas and these beliefs about what we need to do as a people to be great. What we got to do to be our absolute best. And I'm gonna tell you, it's for a little kid that grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, that was born around the time of the peak of his career, that grew up watching my father watch him fight against Leon Spinks and that unfortunate fight, Larry Holmes, the Thriller in Manila, the Rumble in the Jungle, and all that stuff, and just to have that be right in my city, man, you talk about something that just gives you fire. Oh my God, I love that man so much. I have so much admiration for him, and it's really exciting. And also, his daughter Layla is a friend of mine. So it's just really cool kind of having to go full circle and kind of saying, okay, I think I understand that. I think I understand God's mission. I think that God's mission is that we are supposed to continue what people before us did, right? We're supposed to take that same courage, that same hard work ethic, that same commitment, that same relentless and really tireless desire to make our people great, and we got to run with it. So I think all of us are the greatest, right? So we are the greatest. That's what we are. I am the greatest, you are the greatest. Can't nobody stop us. See, when you show up in your greatness, in my opinion, and you believe in that, can't nobody stop you, man. Can't nobody stop you. I talked to a young black man the other day, and I was explaining to him, I said the biggest battle that any man or any woman has really is the battle with yourself. Most of us unfortunately become our own biggest haters, our own biggest critics. We don't like ourselves very much. We feel like we need validation from white people in order to feel comfortable and in order to be somebody. And I just reject all that stuff. Like I just reject all that. And my belief is that the biggest battle I have every day is the battle against Boyce, right? The battle between the mediocre Boyce and the excellent, outstanding, and empowered Boyce. And he's going to win. This guy's going to win. The empowered Boyce, he's going to win that battle. And it's a daily thing. That's the thing I want to share with you guys too. Is it's a daily thing. It's a constant thing. It's intra daily. I mean, it happens all day long, every day. In the next hour, are you going to be excellent or are you going to be average? Right? Are you going to be your best or are you going to be your worst? Are you going to stand up or are you going to sit down? Are you going to give up or are you going to keep going? Those little decisions are made every single day, all day long. And I can tell you 100% certainty that everybody feels that. Everybody goes through that, right? So anyway, and in fact, if you look at the life of Ali, just since we're talking about him, um, if you look at Ali, you'll notice that in the course of his life, you saw times where he was extraordinary and outstanding, and then you saw times where he was mediocre. You saw times where he did his best and he showed up, and and he'd fight like hell. But then you saw times where he didn't show up prepared, right? And sometimes he had to get his butt kicked, right? Shout out to Joe Frazier, a great fighter, right? Joe Frazier knocked him on his butt, and a few other people did. And every time he got knocked on his butt, he would come back and he'd say, okay, I got to go back to the basics. I'm going to go back to what made me great. I'm going to go back to the gym. I'm going to go back and stop acting like a celebrity. I'm going to start pushing hard again. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to make sure I'm ready. So this is the interesting thing that I want you to understand. And this is not even related to our topic for today, but God tells me what to say and I always listen. Um, is that remember this, that when you become great at something, right? So let's just start the conversation off right. How many of you want to be great at something? How many of you believe that you are capable of being great at something? How many of you are striving for greatness in your life? I hope that I've convinced you that that Black excellence should be just mandatory for all of us. And everybody's version of Black excellence is going to differ. Everybody's version of what it means to be Black, what it means to be outstanding is going to vary, right? But how many of you want to be Black and excellent? Give me a yes. Excellence, I think, is something that should be required for us to even come in this room together, a commitment and a belief in that. Well, here's the thing I want you to understand about greatness, in my opinion. There's a difference between being the best and being at your best. This is where I become a statistician. One thing that we do in statistics is they'll say, so what's the volatility? And you'll say, well, this is the volatility. And then they'll say, well, what's the volatility of the volatility, right? Or they'll say, well, what's the average? And you'll say, well, the average is 12. And they'll say, but what's the average of the average? And what people don't understand is that there's always a layer beneath what you think is the bottom layer, meaning that there you might say, well, who's the best basketball player in the world? And you might say, well, I don't know, LeBron James or Steph Curry or Michael Jordan or whatever, right? But then you might look at Michael Jordan's life and say, on what days was he actually showing up as the best? And what days did he show up as somebody else? And what days did he show up as the Michael Jordan that we remember, the legend, the amazing guy that we know he is as an athlete anyway? And what days did he just show up as an imposter, right? What days did he think that just putting on the number 23 and just showing up with a basketball under his arm was the same as him being the great Michael Jordan? At what point did he forget that to be a Michael Jordan or to be great at anything, it requires a certain number of ingredients, right? It requires a culture, it requires a certain approach to things, right? It requires a standard. It requires being prepared for the battle, preparation for the battle. And some days he did not prepare for the battle, and the days he did not prepare were the days when he did not do as well as he wanted to do. Those are the days where he failed. Right. And a lot of us go through that every single day. There's something to prepare for. There's some kind of battle. And one thing I tell the kids all the time, and this is an economic statement. This is an investing statement. This is a statement about investing. I say preparation is the key to success. Preparation is the key to, if you prepare at an optimal level for everything in your life that matters for you, then you are going to win. Give me a yes if you follow what I'm saying. If you prepare for all the things that matter for you, you will succeed. You will give yourself the best chance of success. You may not always succeed the first time, but success is more likely to show up and greet you when you show up prepared to receive it. Do you understand? Do you get what I'm saying? Wealth ain't nothing but financial preparation. Financial security ain't nothing but economic preparation. Being rich ain't nothing but the fact that in the past I prepared for this moment. I'm showing up to you in this moment as a guy that's got money in the bank, as a guy who's got financial security, as a guy I'm talking to you right now, and I'm sitting here talking to you from Europe, right? I'm literally in Denmark right now. I'm showing up in this moment in a certain way because I prepared for this moment. Do you understand? Do you follow what I'm saying? If I had not prepared for this moment, then this moment would not exist. When it comes to the life you want, economic life, otherwise, and not just the money, I'm talking about also the things that are more important than money, the other things that you invest in that money cannot buy, you have to prepare for that. If you want to have an excellent family, then, I meet some of you, you say, this is my beautiful wife and my 7 kids, and the kids are all sitting there all well-behaved, and he's an engineer, and she's a scientist, and she's got her own business, and he's got $1 million in his portfolio. Well, that tells me that you prepared. You didn't make all them babies in 30 seconds. Those are not babies that were born last night. When you show me what you are looking like right now, and you're this really healthy, successful family of 7, and I've been married to my wife 30 years, and we're worth over $1 million, and we got 7 kids, and 2 of them are in Ivy League schools, and the other 2 are making millions of dollars again. That tells me that there was thousands of little steps that took for you to prepare for this moment where you're presenting this to me. Like you're presenting this masterpiece, like an artist. You're presenting this masterpiece that you've been painting for the last 30 years in a very intricate way. And I'm like, wow, look at that art. That's amazing. And this is a financial consciousness exercise. This is a consciousness exercise because unfortunately you live in a world where people believe in this Disney fairy tale, this myth, this big, fat, stinky, fat, nasty ass lie called instant gratification. You got people that really think that you can make success the same way you make a pitcher of Kool-Aid. Just add water and put some sugar in it and stir it up real hard. It's gonna taste delicious. You can't create success like Kool-Aid. Success is like it's like your mama's crock pot. You remember your mama would put food in the crock pot in the morning and it would take like 12 hours for it to stew while she's at work all day. That kind of thing. Like except it's like even worse than that. It's like a crock pot that sometimes you gotta let the stuff stew in the crock pot for like 20 or 30 years. Right. You have to that's what greatness looks like. That's what economic success looks like. That's what a strong family looks like. That's what health looks like, physical health. When somebody shows up with all big muscles or they looking good and they slim, oh, that's hundreds, if not thousands of hours in the gym that you're looking at. That's thousands of little decisions to pick up the carrots instead of the potato chips, right? That's thousands of little choices to say, I'm gonna get my butt up out of the bed at 5 a.m. and go to the gym today, even though I'd rather sleep in and eat, and eat ice cream and hang out with my friends, right? So remember, everything is a culmination. Everything is an accumulation process. Most things in life that matter for you, most things that are really worth something, whether you're talking about greatness or you're like Ali, or you're talking about, greatness financially or anything else, it's an accumulation. That's what wealth is. See, that's what you got to understand. In finance, we refer to wealth as what you call a stock. It is a stock. It means you've been stocking. You've been stacking your nuts for the winter. You've been stacking your paper. You've been stack, stock, putting stuff in the storeroom, right? Now you got this big storeroom full of money, and that's wealth. That's why we call it a stock. But see, people don't see the stock. They're not thinking about the stock. Like we talk about stock markets and all that. All that's connected. It's deep stuff. What people see in the world of instant gratifications, they don't see the stock. What they see is a thing called the flow. The flow builds the stock. See, here's the flow. The flow is income. How much money you make? How much I gonna get paid? What's my paycheck gonna look like? Oh, he doing good. Look at how much money he's making. That you ever hear people talk like that? Like they just say, well, how are they doing? Oh, they doing good. He got a good job, making good money. So what they're talking about is the flow. They're not talking about the stock. In mathematics, maybe you might say they're talking about the first derivative, not the second derivative. Whatever, however you want to look at it. The first level, not the second level. Because really, if you want to ask a question about how somebody's doing financially, you don't say, well, how much money they're making. No, what you say is, well, how much wealth did they create with that money? Because money doesn't mean anything if it flows in your pocket and out and goes out. If it comes in the front door and goes out the back door. It's like Mexican food. You eat it and then it leaves your body and then you're hungry again, right? So if all you focus on is the flow and you don't think about the stock, then you're missing the majority. You're looking at the tip, but you ain't even paying no attention to the damn iceberg. See, what you got to understand is that income means nothing without wealth. Income is the little brother. Wealth is the big brother. Income is an opportunity to create wealth. And if you think about this, pay attention. Most people in America don't build any wealth. They work 50 straight years, make millions of dollars, thousands of hours at the job, and they got nothing to show for it. Their income, and I'm not making fun of anybody if you're in this category, because they trick you into this. They trick you. Remember, you're in a world of instant gratification. So don't think I'm shaming you for being tricked. It tricks a lot of us, right? So because we're focused on the flow and not on the stock, we make the money and then the money's gone, and then you have to go make more money because now you're out of money because you spent the money that you made and right? And so when we talk about the word poor, what does the word poor stand for in this class? We talk about poor all the time. Poor stands for what? P-O-O-R. Give me the acronym. Type in the chat. Poor stands for passing over opportunities repeatedly. Passing over opportunities repeatedly. So if you are a hardworking person who has busted your butt for some corporation for many, many years, and you still feel poor, you still feel financially strapped and everything's kind of stuck, then what's probably occurred to some extent, and I want to say this without you feeling like I'm beating up on you. I am not holier than thou. I'm not a man who's never made mistakes. I am not here to sit here and make and shame you about your life. So let's just make that clear. But poor, what's happened is that you passed over opportunities repeatedly. I bet you when I come in here and I tell you depressing things like, well, if you had spent $1,800 on Apple stock in 1997, you'd have $4 million in the bank right now. That pisses you off. That it should. It's like, man, wait, what? Huh? Nobody told me that, right? Somebody told me I had to spend $1,800 at the club, or I need to go on vacation that year, right? You're like, damn. Right? You get mad, right? You get FOMO, but that's okay. That's that first step. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get mad. See, what I've noticed about champions and great people, like I was talking about Ali, is like I think people that have a high standard for themselves, that have high expectations for themselves, that believe in the pursuit of excellence and are willing to sacrifice for that, they tend to be frustrated sometimes. I'm frustrated with Boyce every single day. Every day I get mad at Boyce. Every day I'm like, damn, come on, Boyce. You supposed to get up. You're supposed to work 12 hours. You only work 9. Oh, dang, Boyce. You know, you'll never be great if you keep on giving up so early. Boyce, you really should have stuck with it. Boyce, if you had done this in 2021, you'd be here in 2025. Now you're starting over again because you messed around and didn't start when you know you should have started, right? So frustration comes with the territory. So what I kind of am okay with, and I want you to do is I want you to think about the benefit of being a frustrated Black person. But here's the thing: I don't want you frustrated about what white folks are doing. I don't think that benefits you. I've never met a white man who's going to change his behavior because I'm frustrated with him. I don't know anybody running this government or running these corporations or anywhere that's going to change their policies because I'm just frustrated. I'm frustrated that you keep taking Black wealth. I'm frustrated that you're selling us toxic fast food and killing us. I'm frustrated that you're telling us to destroy our families, right? Yeah, I can be frustrated with you, but I don't think they really care. But I think that if you're frustrated with you and you see you and your choices as the primary driver of what's going to make you great, then I think that will give you more benefit. At least if you're going to be stressed out, you're stressed out for a cause. You're stressed out for a purpose you can believe in. You're stressed out in a way that you're going to get a return on investment, right? So anyway, before I move on, I want to mention really, really quickly that the ladies at Fly Nubian Money did a great show yesterday about these trade-offs that we make in terms of family and finances. We touched this a little bit, but really, I think this is worth really. This is the sweet spot, man. This is when you talk about Black wealth. You gotta blend in that relationship and family conversation and the mental health conversation. That's how you get to the bottom of this mystery. The mystery is what the hell happened to our money? Why is it not growing? Who took it? How do we lose it? What's happening? They did a great conversation. They had five intelligent Black women. There's Lala, Constance Carter. She ran the largest Black real estate firm in California. Dr. Lene Javette. Who else was there? Nomalanga Mushali Moses, who's out of Botswana. So you got an African family-oriented perspective from that. And there was someone else there, and I don't remember the name. But anyway, I'm going to text that out to you guys because I think you should watch this episode because it was really, really good. They did this yesterday. And by the way, if you want to get notified when they go live every day, 5 days a week. You can just pull out your phone, text the word Queens to the number 87948. Text Queens to 87948, and they will and they can send you a link when they go live and all that good stuff. Okay, so in fact, their conversation was so interesting that I wanted to drill into this just a little bit more so we can kind of understand a framework. I think that, white people are not the only ones who can come up with their own theories and frameworks and of how to approach things. I think we need our own, right? And this is something that we do as scholars. When I was on the faculty of Syracuse, that's what you do as a scholar. You develop theories and you do research and you come up with models, right? So I want to talk about the model of the Black family as it pertains to wealth building. We've touched on this before, but I really want to touch on it in a slightly different way so we can really understand this. So I'm going to start with a basic question. Start with a simple question. Give me a yes or no in the chat. Or answer. Don't give me a yes or no. Just answer. Children. Very expensive. In America, it costs $300,000 to raise a child. Child care, all that stuff, stress. So are children an asset or are children an expense? An asset or an expense? Some of you that have been in this class for a long time are going to jump in with an answer because you've heard me talk about this before. Are children an asset or an expense? I will sip my coffee as about 90% of you are going to give the wrong answer. The smart, the ones who are really on it are giving the right answer. I see a few of you are. A lot of you are saying asset. Not many are saying expense. That's good. That's good. That means we're making progress. Okay, they're both. They're both. Yeah, they're both. Basically, if I give you an asset, let's think about an asset like a car. A car is an asset, and people talk about it as a depreciating asset, but that's just the capital gains part of a car. Like a car's value is not going to go up. So yeah, if you buy a car and say I'm going to hold it for 10 years and then resell it for a higher price, you're probably not going to be able to do that with 95% of most cars. So that is correct. But that does not mean that ownership of a car can't be a positive ROI experience for you, right? It doesn't, like, imagine this. Imagine if you have no money and someone says, I can pay you $300 a day to deliver products for me, but you need a vehicle. So you say, okay. So you go buy a car, and now you're making $300 a day. Let's say you're working every day of the month because you're a hustler. So now you're making $9,000 a month because you went out and you spent X amount of dollars to buy you a car. Is that a good move for you financially? Let's assume you save and invest that money as well and all that. Would that be a good move? Would buying the car be a positive ROI decision for you? Would you have gotten something good out of that asset? Give me a yes in the chat or a no. The answer is absolutely yes. So in that particular context, buying a car is a good move. Right? It was good for you. Hooray. Right? Good. We smart today. Right? So never ever let anybody make you think that buying a car is always a bad, stupid thing to do. That's not the case. A car, and also a car is an asset because you can sell a car just like you can sell shares of stock or sell a house. What makes an asset valuable or not, or what makes it a good asset or whatever, is what you do with it. It's what you do with it. So if I get a car and I'm using the car to make money, then the car is a positive financial asset for me. If I get the car and I just use it for nothing, I sit in my driveway or I just drive it around and don't make any money from it, then it becomes a negative net worth kind of thing. Then I have to be really careful because if I overspend on the car, if I do what a lot of people do and invest everything in my car and don't invest it in stocks, bonds, real estate, none of that stuff, then I'm going to end up in a negative net worth position where I'm looking fly driving my Cadillac Escalade, but my net worth is negative because this Escalade took $100,000 off of my net worth, right? So when you think about what an asset is, I want you to really think about it carefully because a lot of whether an asset generates value comes down to how you use it. Let's get back to families and children. Same thing is true with kids and children. The reason that answer is both is that children are an asset that can really add value to the family wealth. We've talked about this, so I'm not going to belabor this point. If you want to see me break it all down in a different way, you can go to drboycebooks.com. I have a book called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. Feel free to go to drboycebooks.com. You can use the code word book club and get 30% off. So drboycebooks.com. It's called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. I break all this down. So I'm not going to go through that point, but what I am going to say is that what you want to consider is that when you talk about the Black family or we talk about kids, a lot of the conversation about kids and family comes down to the expense of having a family, how it's expensive in terms of not just the money. The average child costs $300,000. Also, it's expensive in terms of time and energy. I've heard, I think that the Disney girl, the girl who did the Mermaid movie, that she had the baby with the rapper slash influencer. And then like a lot of families, they broke up before the baby was born or right after the baby was born. I guess that's a convenient time to destroy your child's life. It's like make sure you get her pregnant and then break up with her right after the pregnancy, right? Or just leave that man as soon as the baby's born. Make sure that baby ain't got no daddy in the house because we got to make sure that baby stays extra black, right? That's what it means to be black. Being black means you ain't got no daddy in the house. What the hell are you doing with a daddy in the house talking about you black? We taking your black card, right? That's kind of what's happening in America. It's very, very sad. But anyway, let me stop sounding like an angry old man. But here's the deal. So I heard him on an interview and he said, yeah, bro, you know, having a relationship, it's like a part-time job. It's a part-time job. And I was sitting there while I was watching, I was like, yeah, bro, relationships are a lot of work. It is. It feels like being married. You just try being married. That's a full-time job, right? And so it's hard work for sure. There's no question about it. I think that the question then becomes, how do you frame it, right? Because here's the deal: the same person who says that the relationship is hard work and it's like a part-time job might be a person who actually has a part-time job. So I would say, well, if you don't want to work on behalf of the family, like why are you going to work on behalf of the corporation? Right? You're going to your job and that's not even a part-time, that's a full-time job, right? Or maybe you work hard at basketball, right? That's a full-time job. But you didn't quit basketball. You didn't say, man, bro, basketball is like a full-time job. I had to quit. No, you stuck with it. You kept doing it, right? But then there's other things you do, right? Everybody has 24 hours in a day and everybody's kind of doing something, right? Most of us are working on something. I bet if I ask you, give me a yes or no in the chat, Do you have something every day that you're doing that's taking a lot of time and energy, that's requiring sacrifice, that's maybe draining you, it's kind of wearing you out, get you tired at the end of the day? Maybe it's your job, maybe it's your fitness, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's that business, maybe it's what, right? Everybody's got something that they're working on, but there's kind of a discernment. There's a decision that's made in terms of what we're doing with that time, right? There's a decision, right? So if I'm working hard on something that doesn't seem to add value to my life, then I'm going to stop doing it. I'm going to say, man, I ain't doing that. That's too much work. But if I'm working on something that has a payoff at the end of the road, or so I believe, then I will work hard on that. Like, for example, I've seen people that will work really hard, like staying fly, looking good, right? They will spend time in the Gucci store to get and spend money like buying the nicest whatever because they want to get on Instagram and have Louis Vuitton from head to toe. Or maybe they'll spend time at the hair salon and the nail salon and doing all the work. I mean, I've seen how much work the ladies have to put in to look good. It's impressive. I mean, it's expensive and time consuming. It's like wow, like y'all, but y'all look good. Black women, beautiful, all of you, right? Congratulations, that's amazing, right? And you do it because there's some sort of inherent ROI, right? You see this outcome as some sort of an asset that you're willing to invest in, and you don't really hear a lot of women say, "I stopped getting my hair and my nails done, and I stopped taking showers because they take too much work to smelling good, looking good. Oh, that's too much work, so I just stay in my house. I stay funky. I cut my hair off. I decided I'm just gonna just not. I'm not even gonna try to look nice for anyone ever at any point for anything, right? Most women don't make that decision. Most men don't either, right? But ladies, I point to the ladies especially because I know I want to show how much appreciation I have for the work that you put in to looking good. It is really, really amazing, right? But you do it. You put in the time and you put in the energy into this job because you see the ROI. And the thing about the return on investment, ROI, that's what ROI stands for. The return on investment, it doesn't always have to be real. It doesn't always have to be something that really is going to happen. You just have to believe it's there. You have to see it, right? So here's where I'm going with this. If I have a kid and I see children as an ROI. If I see, okay, you know what, putting time into this kid, it's hard work, but having put time in this kid, I'm gonna get to be a dad. My kid's gonna grow up and love me. They're gonna maybe the kids are, my kids are gonna when I get older, I'll have some people that are there for me. So I got these 7 kids, and I'm investing in all of them. They're not all gonna be the same, but I'm gonna really do my best to be a good parent and stay with their mom so that they can have stability and have a structured household, so they don't grow up half crazy and mad at the world, and they actually come back to the family. The home's gonna be loving. I'm gonna put work into making a loving home so that even when they're gone and they don't have to come back, they're gonna still want to come back. And then when they're in their 40s and I'm in my 70s, they're going to want to come back and check on dad, and they're going to bring all the grandkids, and I'm going to have this big family around me at Thanksgiving dinner. And this is my return on investment. This is my vision that I have for the world. This is my vision I have for my life. And that's why I'm investing in that vision, right? That's also a very logical approach to things, right? You are okay. That's what you see. But if I am living in a world of instant gratification where all you see is the flow, but you don't see the stock. Let's go back to the beginning. If all I see is the work and I don't see the reward, or let's say I see the work and I don't even value the reward, or I don't believe the reward is attainable, or I've never seen anyone have the reward. I've never seen what a grandfather looks like when he's smiling because he's happy to have 27 grandkids around. I don't respect any of that. I don't know nothing about that, right? Then maybe I'm going to make a different economic decision. And this is an economic decision. Just be clear. Just we're not always talking about money. We're talking about the allocation of scarce resources, which is really the fundamental of economics. You don't understand. See, finance, I got my PhD in finance, but we are, to some extent, we are posers. The true economists are the people over in the economics department. They were better at math than we were. They understood what money really is. Money is just a representation of value. And it's not the only representation of value. It's like if there was a singing group like the Jackson Five, money is like Michael Jackson. Money is the Michael Jackson of the Jackson Five, but then you got Tito and Marlon and Jackie, and you have a whole group here, right? So what I mean by that is money is one representation of value, just like Michael is one representation of the Jackson family. But if you do the research on the Jackson family, you'll know that Catherine and Joe had a whole bunch of kids. And some of them were really talented. Some of them were super famous. Janet was super famous. Jermaine was pretty famous, right? We even know about Tito and Marlon and all that. And then there's like an underlying sort of infrastructure that led to the manifestation of the Jackson family. That there's a whole legacy and a story to this, such that if all you know is Michael, then you're probably missing about 95% of the Jackson story. Do you understand what I'm saying? So here's what I'm saying to you. Here's what the point I want to make. If all you know about is money, then you're missing about 95% of the economic story. If all you know is cash flow and investing and money and all that, then you're missing the whole damn point. You don't you just seeing the bright shiny object that's out front. And Michael was amazing. Don't get me wrong, money's nice. But there was a whole lot going on in the background to even make all this happen. Like without the Jackson Five and without Joe and Catherine getting together and going on a first date and all these other things and building a certain kind of a family structure, there is no Michael Jackson. Do you understand? Do you follow what I'm saying? I hope you get this analogy here. So if your goal is to get money and I want to understand money, I want to learn about money, then you must also, it helps to really understand economics as a construct that's far bigger than money. And then if you really want to understand economics, then you should understand the underlying infrastructure that determines how your economics shows up, how economic decision making is made. And then you start getting off into these other areas that seem to be almost disconnected. Well, what kind of women were you picking when you were 25 years old? Well, Dr. Boyce, why would you ask me that question? Well, because the types of women that you pick is going to determine a lot of your outcomes economically and financially. Or if I just ask, well, what do you like to eat fried chicken or do you eat vegetables? Which one is more likely to end up on your plate? The fried chicken or the well, why would you ask me that question? You're supposed to be a financial. No, I'm asking you an economic question because if you understand economics and finances at a deep level, you'll know how much money, how many people go bankrupt because of the healthcare system because their bodies are not in good shape and they go to the doctor and the doctor gives them a surgery that costs $300,000, which wipes out their entire lifetime of net worth. So you'll understand. Do you understand? Do you follow? Do you get what I'm saying? Really, if you want to fix an issue, you got to go to the root of that damn thing. You got to go to the root. People don't go to the root. They don't go to you go to the doctor, you're like, I got cancer, so my arm hurts. And they put a band-aid on your arm and they say, okay, you're healthy now, you're healed. And then you don't understand why the cancer keeps spreading while you're dying. Because the doctor didn't even, all he did was he looked at the cut on your arm and put a band-aid on it, and nobody did whatever the ultrasounds and the CT scans and the blood tests. Nobody did any of that. They just saw the cut and put a band-aid on it. It's okay, you're good now, go home. And that's what we do when it comes to the economics. We think that we can fix Black economics without really fixing Black culture. We think we can build Black wealth without building Black family. We think we can build Black wealth without working on the mental health. We think we can build Black wealth without talking about the physical health. And if you know economics the way I do, again, I taught my first finance class when I was 22 years old at the University of Kentucky. I've been doing it that long. You'll know that it's a very complex process. Like everything that happens in your life, especially financially, is a manifestation of many thousands of little intricate processes that you may never think about. So you see Michael Jackson on stage and he wows you because he can sing and dance and he's wearing the sparkling suit. There's thousands of little things that had to happen for that moment to even occur. So here's what I want to dig into. And before I move on, just a reiteration, I want to remind you a couple things. Number one, don't forget that the All Black National Convention is the weekend of August 24th. It's going to be in Atlanta. We are partnering with an alliance of Black organizations. So you're getting the best convention ever this year. You're getting a convention where there will be not a few hundred people, there will be thousands of people there. And we are connecting with Africa. Dr. Ken Harris and his organization, the Black Business League, they're bringing over, I think he said 6 African presidents are coming. So it's African American business owners and families connecting with Africa. It's epic. It's going to be historic. It is. We are making Black history because we are great like that. And you are great like that, and because great people can't be great without other great people around them. So this is happening August 24th in Atlanta, and on top of that, the tickets will be cheaper than they were before. So I'll make an announcement on the tickets very, very soon. Some of you have already bought your tickets. Those tickets will be honored, but we're going to have to do kind of a reset on exactly how everything's structured. We'll have that done in the next few weeks. We're just hammering out some details. Number two, we are doing a Millionaire Training Camp and Economic Elevation Summit live in Miami on February 21st, the weekend of February 21st. So go ahead and get prepared. You can buy your ticket, get your hotel, everything else. I'll let you guys know. We're making the deal with the hotel. We should sign the deal very soon. I will let you all know as soon as it's done so you can join us at the Economic Elevation Summit that's going to be in Miami February 21st. So we're going to do LA and we had our contract, but unfortunately, LA is not the best place to have a conference right now because for obvious reasons. I don't want to force you to have to fly over a forest fire to get there. So maybe LA in the future. God bless you though if you live in LA, and my heart's really with you. What's going on out there is absolutely terrible. All right, so we talked about this whether kids are an asset or an expense. The ladies at Fly Nubian Money broke this down yesterday. So to finish up their conversation, one of the things that I want to share with you is research studies that connect to the family thing. One of the biggest points of debate that consistently happens is how do you balance it, right? What do you choose, family or money, or family or career, and all this other stuff? And a lot of times, I think the choices are made difficult for both men and women. I think for women, it's probably a little bit tougher in certain ways because you all have the babies, and there are certain household domestic expectations society puts on women. But it's a decision for men as well, and it's one that men have to also grapple with in our own way. And one of the things about the family and children is that you have to decide in the beginning, is this investment, because it's going to be an investment, this, in terms of time and money, is this going to be an asset or is it going to be an expense? An expense is where you just do something that's hard and nothing comes out of it. Like you raise a bunch of kids and there's no benefit to it. You just did something nice for someone else, almost like charity. An asset, an investment means I did all this hard work. I busted my butt, and now there's a payoff at the end. Like my mother, when she died, bless her heart, rest her soul, Robin Watkins. When she died on Christmas Eve, my sister was the medical doctor right next to her bed because my mother invested in my sister and loved her enough to make her want to be next to her dying mother. And also, she encouraged her to go back to medical school. So after going back to medical school, my sister was qualified as a physician to check on my mother. That was an asset that she created through love, right? She made investments not with money, but with time and love and energy, things like that. And also, I was able to pay a couple bills because my parents invested in me. My father invested in me when I was 3. Some of you know the story. I was not his biological son. I had a biological father who, for whatever reason, wasn't part of my life. I think drugs and stuff got him a little bit distracted. And this other man said, "I'm gonna put down the drugs. I'm gonna walk away from the drugs," because he went to Vietnam. A lot of drugs happened there, and he decided to raise me. So he invested in me. So now I'm more loyal to the man that raised me than I ever could have been to the man who actually created me, right? So that was another investment. So we've talked about this kind of thing in terms of kids, whether they're an asset or they're just an expense. It depends on your perspective and your mindset. So here's the thing. If you see family as an asset worthy of investment, and I'm not just talking about the people you're biologically related to. I told you about my dad, right? A lot of my kids are not biologically related to me, but they are investments. They're, for me. If you see children as an asset that you invest in, then one of the things you have to understand is that an asset only has value if you are A, making investments in the asset, and B, qualified and trained to maintain the asset. Let me explain. Let's go back to the example earlier. Now, remember we talked about a car and I said, yes, a car is an asset. A car is, it is an asset. And what you get out of the asset depends on what you're going to do with the car. Well, it doesn't just so getting something out of the car isn't just a matter of whether or not you use the car. Like if you don't use it, you just sit in the driveway, then it's going to be a huge waste of money. But if you use it properly and make money from it, then it becomes a good move. But also remember this, in addition to using the car and investing in driving the car, you also have to know how to drive. See, if I buy a car, and let's say the car is going to be a great asset for me because I'm going to use it to deliver pizzas or whatever. But let's imagine if I drove blindfold every day. Or imagine if I just would get high and drunk and get behind the wheel every time I drove my car. Or imagine if I never took the time to get a driver's license and I got behind the car and I'm drunk and I got blindfold on and also I never learned how to drive. Is that asset going to pay off for me? Yes or no? What's going to happen with this asset If I take control of this asset and I just don't know what to do with it, I totally mess it up. I drive 120 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. I make sure that I'm high on weed and liquor every time I get behind the wheel, and I'm also looking at my cell phone and wearing a blindfold at the same time. Then that asset is going to be the worst thing that ever happened to me. That's going to be a liability. It's going to be a huge expense, and it's not going to help improve my life on any level, right? Well, it's the same way when you talk about having kids. Well, it's the same way when you talk about things like marriage and family. See, the marriage and the family and the children, that's an asset that, like a car, it can drive you anywhere you need to go. It can help you to elevate in a multitude of ways. It can make your life so much better than it would have been otherwise. But the ability to maximize that asset comes down to your training level as it pertains to knowing how to use the asset. See, one of the people that we sponsor in the Black Business School, I love to brag about this because I love this kid, is LeVar Scott. LeVar Scott is a 21-year-old NASCAR driver. He was Rookie of the Year this year, and he wears a Black Business School suit when he gets in his races. I have so much admiration for LeVar. He's 100% Black, and he's a badass. And this year, we're going to win some NASCAR races. We bought him a simulator so he could. I told him, I said, man, I send him like Michael Jordan quotes and Muhammad Ali quotes in the morning. And I'll send him like motivational videos, and I'm like, you can do it, man. Come on, bro. We're going to get this win because he got second place by like a half a second. This year, we're going to get a win. And when he gets a win, I'm going to brag about him. But here's the thing about LeVar. LeVar knows his way around a car. LeVar knows race cars extremely well. He knows that you can give him a big old, $1 million car with this revving engine with all these complex systems, and LeVar knows exactly what to do with it. So LeVar can get in that car and he can smoke your butt. He can go 250 miles an hour around that track and be good with that. Now, imagine if you gave that same car to me. And let's say that I'm also, not only am I unqualified, but I'm also sleepy and I'm on drugs. That would be an absolute tragedy. Somebody's going to die that day. Somebody's going to die that day, right? So LeVar's ability to drive the car is critical for his ability to get the most out of that vehicle, right? He understands how these things work. So your family is like that car. If you know what to do, it can be a tremendous asset for you. If you know how to manage problems when they come up, then great things can still happen. If you know how to pick the right woman or the right man, if you know how to raise the kids, if you are trained on how to negotiate issues in your relationship, if you know how to set up the right situation and maximize that, then that's like LeVar's race car. It will take you 250 miles an hour down the road. You'll be far ahead of your friends. You'll be kicking butt, taking names, and kicking ass. But what I want you to understand, I want you to think about our society, though. And I want you to ask yourself, how much time does the Black community spend teaching young people how to manage a family? Or I want you to think about how many people out here are really good at making babies, men and women, but they don't know a damn thing about raising one. Seriously. I mean, the same way you need a driver's license to drive a car. I'm sorry, I offend people, but I almost feel like maybe we need a license for you to start having kids. Right? You need to get a baby license. Like, are you qualified to drive that vehicle, right? Did you go through the necessary requirements to take control of this asset that's in front of you? Because if you did not, you gonna kill somebody. Someone will get hurt because you got 4 kids and don't know a damn thing about raising them because you didn't even fix your own trauma. You're still screwed up from the fact that your parents also didn't have a license and they messed you up so bad that now you're messing up the babies. So to some extent, you're kind of passing the psychological STD to the kids. Right? You're giving them this a big dose of generational trauma. You're supposed to give them generational wealth. Instead, you've taken the generational wealth and replaced it with generational trauma. So instead of our kids being rich with assets and stocks and real estate, they're rich with pain and agony and addiction and stress and anxiety and all these things, and they got it from their mama. They got it from the daddy. They got it from the parents who took control of this asset called a child and never got the qualification to control that asset. No different from if I was to take control of one of LeVar Scott's $1 million race cars. So what I'm going to say to you is this. I'm gonna tell you, I don't give a damn what is trained in an educational system. I don't care what we say people need to know to be successful in life, academic. No, I don't care about what your university told you because I'm a college professor. I have the qualifications to override all of that. I'm telling you that when you decide what education a Black person needs in America, you need to be educated on the things that are going to make a difference in your life. When you ask me, what should I take a class on? I'm gonna be like, did you take a class on motherhood? If you ask, what should I study? Hey, did you take a class on how to be a good husband? Maybe you should do that. If you, Dr. Boyce, what should I invest my energy into? Did you know you're traumatized? You got beat, abandoned, mistreated, neglected as a child. Did you go and heal from your trauma? Because if you didn't heal from your trauma, then you're gonna start a family and you're gonna F it up. I would say fuck it up, but I'm not gonna cuss today. So instead of saying fuck it up, I'm gonna say F it up. Now you can't say I cussed. So here's the deal. Let me give you some quick stats. Let's stick to the trauma thing. My wife is an expert on trauma, actually. She's not just a high-level therapist. We talked about this. She helped us create the Black Financial Therapy Department in the Black Business School, but she's also an expert on trauma. Let me tell you some linkages here so you know why Black wealth is dropping and why it's connected to Black families being destroyed and what's really happening here. So let's just talk about trauma. Give me a yes if you agree that trauma is huge in our community. Give me a yes if you feel like there are, and or even maybe tell me about yourself. Like, how many of you how many of you were traumatized as a child? Anybody? I didn't know. I took the trauma test. It's called the ACEs test, Adverse Childhood Experiences. I was traumatized through the roof. I didn't know this. I was like, I thought I just had a normal Black upbringing. Your daddy abandoned you. Your other daddy was a Vietnam veteran police commander who liked to maybe beat people up sometimes, and it just emotional dismissiveness and the stuff that we go through in our families is pretty horrible. Okay, so trauma is huge. Well, check this out. Pay attention. This will help you connect the dots in terms of what's going on here, in terms of what's happening with wealth and family. Here are 3 ways that trauma can impact your ability to have a healthy relationship, therefore have a healthy family. 1, emotional regulation. Trauma can make it difficult to manage emotions. Surprise, right? Trauma, and we thought traumatized people were emotionally stable, leading to heightened reactions or withdrawal. So, traumatized people like us, it's very hard to take things like rejection or somebody hurt your feelings because it all reminds you of stuff that happened when you were 7. Man, it sucks. It's like, damn. Trust issues. What do you think? You think it doesn't surprise you that traumatized people have a hard time trusting? Experiencing trauma can lead to difficulty in trusting others, causing barriers to forming close connections. So you're traumatized, you can't trust nothing, you put up walls, you block out everything good, right? Because you're blocking out the bad. You're giving yourself like an emotional type of chemotherapy. You know how chemo kills people, right? Chemo kills the bad cells, but it kills everything else. So a lot of people, they get cancer, they die from the chemo, not from the cancer, right? The chemo and the cancer form a tag team partnership, like a tag team wrestling match where they just both like, we gonna kill them. Okay, when you're not killing them, I'm gonna kill them, right? So that's what it is. It's like an emotional chemo, right? I'm so busy trying to block out the bad that I'm also gonna block out the good just so nothing can get in. And then it just goes to hell anyway. Communication difficulties. Trauma can affect how individuals express themselves, leading to misunderstandings and conflicts in relationships. Most good relationships, whether you're talking about the breakup of a business team, or you're talking about the breakup of a music group that could be making millions of dollars, or you're talking about the breakup of a relationship, in many cases, things like miscommunication is massive, right? Somebody says something, you interpret it a certain way because of your trauma. Next thing you know, your feelings are hurt, and then you react based on this reality you formed in your head that isn't the actual reality. Next thing you know, somebody is no longer your friend when really a good conversation could have smoothed things over. Like, for example, Biggie and Pac both died, both of them billion-dollar brands, billions of dollars in wealth lost in the Black community because they didn't get a chance to sit down with, I don't know, Louis Farrakhan or something and talk it out. If Farrakhan had got those 2 guys together, took them in a room and worked with them, helped them talk it out, I guarantee you that both of these men will be alive today. Now, Biggie, he had a weight issue. Hopefully he would have fixed that by now, but I really think Tupac, I don't know, Tupac, maybe he'd be a senator or something. So I don't know what he'd be doing. Maybe rapping with Dr. Dre. Who knows? But well, you got AI, so now he's rapping with everybody. But you get the point. So the point of the matter is to say that one investment, one expense that could lead to an improvement in the maximal use of a certain asset called family, which is connected to another asset called wealth, is to heal. You have to heal, right? Healing should be required. Healing should be not something that's optional, something that you do just because you happen to go to an Ayanna Van Zant seminar. It should be something that you just do because you're like, wait a minute, I want to maximize this thing. I want to be wealthy. I want to succeed. I want to win. I want to show up for the battle in a proper way. So in order for me to show up properly, I got to work on myself. I got to dig into me. I can't sit around just blaming the world for the rest of my life. I got to start with the person in the mirror. And a lot of people don't want to do that. This is an elevated conversation. We don't live in a society that encourages accountability. It's a society that encourages you to blame everybody. I'm going to blame the Democrats. I'm blaming the Republicans. I'm blaming the bankers. I'm blaming white people. I'm blaming men. I'm blaming women. And everybody does all that. And I guarantee you that 99% of those people are not happy with their lives. The people that tend to be happiest, the people that tend to get to where they want to get to, the people that tend to build the wealth and have the success tend to be people that understand that accountability really starts at home. That I cannot look at the world until I look at Boyce Watkins. And that's really hard to do because then I'm going to start seeing stuff that maybe I'm not comfortable looking at. Can I get an amen on that if you agree? Okay, so another thing that the ladies at Fly Nubian Money covered. And I'll send you guys this episode. I'll text it to you. Make sure you're on the text list for this class, by the way. If you're not on the text list, text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. And also, Constance Carter is going to be live this afternoon on Fly Nubian Money. So if you text the word Queens to 87948, you can be notified that she's live as well. She's really smart. She's been in here before, and I really like Constance a lot. All right, so the other thing here too is I want you to just understand that the real goal, and this is the clear message from today that I want you to understand, is let's circle back when we were talking about earlier, what it looks like for somebody to be successful. When we talked about Ali being the greatest, we talked about what a millionaire, a billionaire looks like, what a financially stable person looks like. We talked about what it looks like to have this really successful, healthy family. To me, that's just a display. You're showing the culmination, the accumulation of thousands of little decisions, whatever it is, right? When someone shows up with $1 billion in the bank, it's because they made 10,000 little decisions that created the $1 billion. They made 10,000 of little investments that added up to $1 billion. So they're showing up to the battle fully prepared because they understand the battles are won well before they even start. Sun Tzu said this in The Art of War. Their battles are won before they begin. The winner is the one who's prepared. The winner is the one who's done the work. The winner is the one who's made the investment. So when you talk about this in life, here's the thing. Here's what I want to leave you with, and I hope that this benefits you. I hope that this helps you to win and to get what you want out of life, whatever that may be. I think it's very important for us to teach ourselves and teach our children, commit ourselves to a basic idea. You must show up prepared for the battle. You have to show up prepared for the battle. So if you think about things like family and the connection to wealth and relationships and wealth and all that, you have to show up for the battle. You have to be trained for the battle. You have to be prepared for the battle. You have to make decisions that are going to lead to the stock and not just focus on the flow. You can't just focus on the now. You must focus on the long term. You must focus on the big picture. You can't see just the little picture. You must see the big one. So that means that if I'm talking about family in particular as a direct vehicle to wealth, it's one of the greatest drivers of wealth in America, then I'm talking to a young person. I'm training them. I make sure they get training on how to choose the right partner that's going to help me build this institution called a family. I'm going to talk about how to heal properly from your trauma so that you can learn how to lead and drive this asset called a family. An asset has no value if the person controlling the asset has no skill. A business could be the most valuable business in the world, but if the CEO is not trained to run that business, they will run that business into the ground. Intel used to be one of the biggest chip makers in the entire planet. They were one of the biggest chip manufacturers anywhere. They used to have this commercial. Anybody remember that commercial? Intel Inside. They got Intel Inside, right? Because everything had an Intel chip in it, but they got bad leadership that didn't know what the hell they were doing. Now Intel is struggling. Intel is the big, gigantic Titanic that is just crashing into icebergs right now. Intel is losing. Death Row Records. I saw some of y'all mention Death Row Records. You had this $1 billion asset that wasn't properly managed. That's why it sank. That's why Death Row Records didn't become a fraction of what it could have been. So a lot of families are similar to that asset. A lot of families sink as an asset because the people running the asset were not trained. They did not show up prepared for the battle. They showed up with this big race car and didn't know how to drive. They didn't take the time to make sure that they were pure and healed and clean and ready and focused and understanding the gravity of the decision that's before them. I had a conversation with a young black man in the airport the other day. We talked for a minute. He came up and he said, "Hey, Dr. Boyce, and how you doing, man?" He wanted to talk to me. And I said, "Hey, how you doing, brother?" We took a picture together and he was really curious. He wanted to talk. And he said, "I don't understand why my coworkers, they don't know who you are." And I was like, "This is Boyce Watkins." And I said, "It's okay. It's okay." I said, "I'm not the teacher here. You're the teacher." I said, "Maybe you go back and you tell them about the things that we talk about, and then you can be the leader. You're supposed to lead now." And I said, "So how many kids you got?" He said, "I got 2 kids." I said, "Man, I need you to understand this. You're 31 years old. I need you to really meditate on how much power you have as a father. I mean, I really need you to sit back and really, as you're fixing yourself, I need you to understand." In economics, they call this a ripple effect. I said, "I need you to understand the ripple effect, the multiplying effect of what happens when you fix yourself." He said, "Yeah, I made some mistakes. I'm trying to get things together. I'm trying to do something." I said, "I know." I said, "Let's talk about this. I need you to understand how important it is for you to get your stuff together. I need you to understand how many people will benefit from you getting your stuff together. I want you to understand that not only whether you choose to get yourself together, whether you make that investment, that's not just going to have a profound impact on your daughters for the next 80 years, but that's going to impact every single person they interact with. This is going to impact people. This is what the ripple effect is, or the multiplier effect. See, what you don't understand is that you doing your job as their dad and being the best father you can be is going to impact dozens, if not hundreds of people that you will never meet. It's going to impact how they interact with men. It's going to impact how they raise their children. It's going to impact how their grandchildren's lives go. Like, you deciding to heal in 2024 is going to have an effect on how hundreds of people that you don't know are going to live in the year 2105. So I need you to understand that you are important. You matter. You are absolutely essential. You are an essential worker right now. You are the CEO of this thing. Don't look at me like I'm important. No, don't. In this particular game, you're what matters. You're the key chess piece. If you make the decision to be great right now, you will have a massive impact on so many people that you can't even fathom the impact of your decision as a 31-year-old man to get your stuff together. Because if you make the wrong decision, it will have an equally impactful effect, except it's going to be tragic and painful for the people involved. So what I really want you to understand, this is how assets are built. This is how wealth is built. Whether you're talking about family wealth, family as an economic asset, or you talk about wealth as an economic asset, it's built by these sort of small decisions that don't seem to matter. You know, like, am I going to buy 100 shares of Apple stock? Or am I going to spend my money at the club? Or am I going to decide to become an investor? Or am I going to just waste my time doing nonsense? These decisions are huge in terms of whether you show up prepared for the battle. And a lot of people show up prepared for the battle, and it's no surprise they're not prepared because they don't even know what preparation looks like. I'm not surprised people aren't prepared because they never had conversations like this. They never had somebody kind of explain how all these things connect to each other, how this works. So when you decide to do the work to heal yourself, when you decide to do the work to better yourself, when you decide to do the work to be a better husband, be a better wife, be a better father, be a better mother, just be a better human being, be smarter, work harder each day, take care of your health and all these things, I want you to really understand the gravity of what you're doing in terms of turning something that's in front of you into an asset, as opposed to making it just this perpetual expense. Because there are so many of our people who are just spent, who are tired, who are exhausted. There are millions of our people who are in pain and they don't know why. They are struggling. They're not ready for retirement. Their physical health is in the garbage. Their mental health is gone. Their financial health is not there. Their relationships are in the toilet. They have a string of 30, 40 boyfriends or girlfriends, and they don't know why. Nothing's ever accumulated into anything. And so that work to me should be essential. And I think that this is something that you want to talk to kids about. You can have your kids watch this video. If you don't mind me saying a cuss word earlier, then play it for your kids, because I don't know, but I don't really think I don't see anybody. I'm not saying that there aren't people who couldn't have a conversation like this. Like I talked to you about people that I really admire, that I listen to and I respect, from whether it's Farrakhan or it's Dr. Claude Anderson and people like that. But I don't really see these conversations happening regularly. And to me, it's like a math problem that has a solution, but maybe no one sat there and actually tried to solve it. So do the work, and that will help you to prepare for the battle. And if you show up prepared for the battle, you will have a happier outcome, because you've been given these assets, given these blessings, whether it's children or opportunity or family, and you know what to do with it. Just like in business. Business people who make money are people who know how to identify the right asset, invest at the right level, train themselves in the right skills, and manage the asset properly. There's a whole field of finance called asset management. If you don't properly manage your assets in life, then you will never prosper. So, asset management should be trained for all of us and all of our kids, so that they can show up prepared for the battle. Does that make sense? Give me a yes if that makes sense. Give me a yes in the chat. Let me know I did something good today. I hope that I did, because that's the goal. I want to share something with you that's going to make your life better. All right. So what I'm going to do is get out of here. I got to go, guys. I enjoyed speaking with you today. Thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Text the word morning to the number 87948. If you're not on the text list, text morning to 87948. Also, you guys know, with Money in the Morning, we have something called Money in a Minute, where we pick a certain topic, whether it's real estate or stock options, that allows you to learn that topic within the flow of your day. So Money in a Minute for stock options means every day you would get a text message with a 3-minute lesson on stock options to help you get up to speed on the very basics, so you can understand it well enough to want to pursue it further. And so we have a discount on that. If you guys want to get that, I'll text that out to you guys a little bit later on today. And then also Fly Nubian Money. I'll text out their video, because I think everybody should take a look at it. And don't forget that we're gonna go to Miami February 21st. You guys will be the first to know when the tickets are available. You're gonna be the first one I'm gonna mention and offer it to, because you're the ones that I want to actually show up. I want people there who are already prepared for the battle, who understand what's going on. Outsiders are okay, but we kind of have to train them up on economics to get them ready for this, because I don't want anybody distracting from the mission, because we are meant to be great. We are supposed to be the best. We are like Ali. We are the greatest, and can't nobody tell me no different. And every time I show up, I'm gonna show up in my best form for you, and I'm gonna show up in the best form for my family and for myself as well. And I want you to do the same. So God bless you. Go be great. Have a wonderful day, everybody. I'll see you all.